Mr. Chairman, gentlemen, thank you for being here. Actually, the fact that this is in the past kind of reminds me of that scene in Lion King where Rafiki, the andro, hit Simba on the head and said, "Doesn't matter, it's in the past." I hear, I could see where my Democrat colleagues would like to use that argument, but it mattered. And for me, I met President Biden as Vice President Biden when I was sworn in. He literally sworn me in 2015. And I've had several interactions with him over the years. There's no question that there was a significant degradation in his cognitive abilities. Probably the last time I spent much time with him was at a NATO summit. And I do think there are a lot of legitimate questions to be asked about who may have been tending the store, and I believe we should get to the bottom of it. But I want to look to the future. And back when this discussion was going on, I was suggesting the 25th Amendment. We know what the 25th Amendment does. Professor, I'm kind of curious about why, and with due respect to my colleague from Louisiana, this is a hell of a burden to place on a staff. Mr. Spicer, you've been in the White House. Can you imagine how heavy that would be and how unlikely it would be for you to be successful as an individual staff member? But Professor Harrison, I'm thinking more along the lines of what you see in boardrooms all the time about annual evaluations of the CEO or board members. What about the concept of something short of triggering the 25th Amendment, where the cabinet members, hand-selected members of the president, confirmed by the Senate, maybe on an annual basis, have to have an attestation that based on their work with the President of the United States, that he is mentally capable, fit, and the same way that we have boards make those decisions about board directors and CEOs. What would be wrong with some sort of a report or attestation to Congress from the cabinet member saying this man or woman is good to go, and it would be it would be perjury to Congress if they ended up covering up and history proved that. What's wrong with something like that as we're looking forward?
Senator, I would be, and maybe I am sort of being unduly protective of the independence of the other two branches, but
that's sort of why I want to leave it in the. That's why I want. All I want is the cabinet to truthfully attest to the fact that their boss is of sound mind and body, and unless they lie, it's not an issue.
Senator,
it's an Article 2 responsibility to report to Congress like so many other things. What's wrong with that?
I think it would be a very good idea for the president to create a process like that. Mm-hmm. My concern is the thought of Congress making such a process mandatory, especially in light.
Well, I'm trying to figure out the consequence, because arguably, I find it hard to believe that there were members of the cabinet that didn't go, you know what, we love this guy, he appointed us to this position, but he's missing a step. And they're refusing to. This is not about any one person. This is about 340 million people in this country. No one of us should think that we should somehow be given a break if we're missing a step. So all I'm saying is you got to report honestly to Congress that the President of the United States, in your opinion, is absolutely demonstrated sound mind and body. It's like no other testimony. It'd be no different than us having them before the committee and say, is the boss okay? And if they lied, they'd be perjuring themselves. So what's the difference between that and some sort of a pro forma report that I'd be willing to subject the current president to, and then we'd have it for all the future presidents? What would be wrong with that?
Senator, again, I think the problem there is the Constitution has created a process for that, and that's the 25th Amendment, mm-hmm. and that suggests that Congress can't create another process. Now, I do think that the point you're making today is part of the political process that might lead presidents to create a system like that on their own, which might enhance the people's confidence.
About to run out of time. Mr. Spicer, what do you think?
Senator, the president normally goes under a routine physical every year. In the case of President Biden, it was Dr. O'Connor who affirmatively stated his fitness for office. The doctor is probably the most competent person to attest to the president's fitness for office. The doctor should be held accountable for stating in the affirmative that President Biden was fit for office.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.